Good morning. Welcome to Jesus with Joy. I am Joy, and I'm so excited to be here this morning. It is Sunday, April the 7th, and we have been sitting here meditating. I'm going to share with you that you shouldn't waste time arguing with God, and I'll do another whole take on that another time. But literally over 2 years ago, God and Christ had shown me some things about Christ and his life. And God said, if I show you these things about Christ and the universe and truth, would you go teach your brothers and sisters? And I wasn't willing. I don't want to say that I said no, because I wasn't like, heck no, God. I was really, it doesn't really sound like my top 10. I'll find something else to do. Actually, originally it went something like, no, thank you, God. I was a Bible thumping Christian in my teens, and I don't did the Christian thing, done with it. Not really needing to go back there. And it's been 2 years telling God no. And about 6 months ago, I finally gave up. Said, okay, if that's really what you want me to do, I'll think about it. And 6 months later, here we are. So just, here's the short version. Don't argue with God, you lose. Okay. Our topic for today is Jesus Christ. And I'm crying already because it just fills my heart with so much joy. And that's why this channel is called Jesus with Joy. It's because if you tap into heaven, it's nothing but love and joy and the excitement of creating this physical reality and putting little children in it, little pieces of yourself to go explore and learn and grow and come back and tell you of all the adventures that they had. That's truly the purpose, the meaning, the life. And I have been very blessed to see many, many parts of Jesus's life directly from God. When I say I've been shown parts of Jesus's life from God, what that means is that God, when I'm seeing Christ's life in that way, it is fully narrated. I hear the thoughts of the people. I understand what's being said, even though it's not English. I understand on a quantum level all that's going on with all the different people being shown and that I'm seeing. And it's more than just thinking about how did that happen. as far as the Bible goes, because several of the things that I've been shown were not the way it was told in the Bible. So that is just awarenesses that I have of why I believe that I was shown private parts of Jesus's life and why I was sharing them. It was the first one I was shown. It was the first one that uh, I had seen. Um, was one of the first because we need to understand what God's definition of perfection is. How Christ was perfect according to God. What he did in that standard. And understanding that we need to become more perfect. So we can live. With that being said, I'm going to start by discussing what it is to be perfect according to God. Having my life 2 minutes, so the reason why I'm allowed to not been regular is that they have some complications. And where I started, it's a car right so speaking to me, so this really schedule. Perfection to God. Actually, that's not the mathematical equations that mean no karmic debt is incurred. And that actually we reverse in karma for more people and creating karma, negative karma, but no, we're only creating positive karma. Karma is all the equations of motion and energy. It's likely of multiple lifetimes. And I'm just going to mention a couple so you understand this. One of the laws, one of these laws is right, and there's an equal and possibly action. And thus, we can each of these lives and cause harm to one, and then harm to the other. Usually, if you harm one, both people are harmed the same way. Okay, you can't really harm someone else without causing harm in your own life, reality, and timelines. And that's what we talk about when we think karma is like a type thing. But a lot of times, what it really means is that you've acted on a repetitive cycles, not damaging, and you continue repeating those cycles, causing damage to others throughout your life, and that's where the cycle just happening. Okay. Uh, another law of motion is that object motion or even motion unless acted on by the force. Okay. And if you are in your life doing certain things, heading certain directions, and other people and or events, they come and pay off behalf of your journey off your purpose. You can get karmically into point. The multiple mice can create karmic cycles of being killed and killed, enslaving people in lives, leads to becoming enslaved, and then living more lives where you're enslaved, and then living more lives where you are a slave, and then living more lives where you enslave others until you learn not to do it anymore. So that is the definition of perfection. That you are not creating any negative karma, and you're only creating positive karma with every scenario. And Jesus not only doing that with his words and with his actions, but with every thought. And that is true perfection. Fine, I am the face place. That creates perfection and love and heaven in your thoughts at all times. Behold, no harm for anyone ever. That you only need love and light and encouragement, growth, and positivity to all in every single thought, every single action, every single word. And that is perfection to God. Not only did Jesus attain perfection in this physical realm, in his life, with every person that he encountered, with every thought that he had, just attain perfection. The last 24 hours of his life, walking to his death, knowing that he must die, and be horribly tortured beforehand. He did love, and he did grace, and he did almost with joy in heart. It's more gratitude than joy. There was no joy. There was joy for the opportunity. There was gratitude to be chosen. With his hope in his heart, and he came to the end. It truly was a test and a trial. It was his final exam. It was his doctorate paper, his own doctorate. His new God, that he could love always under every circumstance and never deviate from the law of love. And never have it in my thought to anyone, even those that were torturing him and raping him and doing all kinds of unspeakable things. After he had taken to jail. The third person's emerge. Those very mean in heart. And you had to be to do it. Now you're still finally. Think aloud. Just wait. Right now. And some resistance. Do not see it. Move at your speed. Next day. And they notice ever verbally. Yes. They've used the disciples in Madeline and I believe Chris Mother. And the other women that he just hinted at. And then they just see him and I mean, the brother is he's alive. They if he was crucified or if they were just petty, like to jump at this. Or add some stuff here in your person. She would never have seen him alive. And God, his mother and the disciples go through the final audience. So one last time. And the repeats. And I herself was used by soldiers. For God and to Christ. Then his disciples did not physically pushing him around. And Mary, his wife, has to stay with him. He's going to become a few minutes alone. And they try to give him support and comforting. And I've never seen Larry and talked to him about it. They call her, she was on her. She was sick. He was here. He could do it and she was away. They told her he would come find her. And it was something here. But only they waited. And then he did. After this persuasion in that life, but ultimately forever and always. So Christ. And the soldiers came. Pastor used the is my understanding. Oh, I did not see this, but it was my understanding that it was great in front of it, and peace had been not necessarily that, shoving against the wall or the floor, and not around, and then the soldiers returned from it, saying, "What are you going to do? And after your wife is in hell, as a child, it won't be yours, and will carry you." It just there was a lot of tongue and harassment and abuse around for an hour or so. God was me for these opportunities. Mary was escorted out, or one of the disciples came back looking for her or bringing her to the place. And so this led to an interruption. Something else happened. Mary was escorted out. She never came in. He just wanted her to go because he knew they were going to keep using her. He didn't want that. While they were talking, he was none of the seed that was in her body would take root. But she was thankful that. These are thoughts always for everyone else. You know that it was compassion for everybody. Compassion for the man who wrote this curve. You're not understanding. Not needing him so bad. The hurting people around him. They had left him alone for several hours during the night. They ever asked him after dark. And not even hours. Came back to see he was still alive. He was sleeping down back, his arms moved to the floor. Blood moving to the floor. Obviously. It was very calm. He was in a lot. Some very moving. When it was time for them to start walking through the city, they decided they didn't want to meet. In his beaten up bit, the great state. Yes, he's a salesman, but there were felt that his manhood, his manliness was still too much, and that he didn't look being down. I'm not saying that he was hard in any way, but just he was equally endowed. And he felt some threatened by who he was, and playing in the streets. Actually, um, they took like a slave cloth and they covered him with a slave cloth, just a garment around his waist, and began marching him, telling him to pick up the thing, carry the thing, hitting him, whipping him, hurting him down the street. It wasn't just him, but he was in the lead. And they were making him try to go. The one thing I'm very, very aware of, he was having trouble walking. And I'm not sure if they whipped his feet or what was wrong with his feet, that he was having so much trouble standing on them and walking. But he couldn't hold on to the beam. The beam, his hands were bloody and it seemed like blood was running and they were slippery. His hands kept being slippery and he kept dropping the beam, and the guards would shove him and push him and call him names, and they knocked him down many times on the way to the thing. It wasn't just once or twice. It was several. And it wasn't a short walk. It was a good little walk to the hill where they crucified him. From where he was. And, not miles and miles, but half a mile, quarter mile, 2/3 of a mile. It was a good little jaunt through the town. And there were plenty of disciples and followers that still supported Christ. But there was a lot of the wealthy and their households. And you have to understand, Christ had been considered among the more wealthy and elite. His family, his father, were considered wealthy and had a name and had prestige and had life in these part of the region, that he was part of a very large group and family that had name and some power, some influence. And like taking a son of a celebrity or a son of a politician, a son of a wealthier individual, and stripping him naked and whipping him and marching him through the streets, because he had preached so much against the wealth that was consolidated at the top of their society, and the sharing of the wealth with the workers, and the giving of the workers of more time off and more breaks for themselves and their family, and decent treatment of their slaves. There was a lot of Romans and Jews in the upper wealthy brackets and their households, okay? Because you basically owned your servants. Yes, you paid them, but a lot of times your servants were part of your household and you supported them and gave them food and shelter and a little bit of money. And so the wealthy came out. Those that opposed Christ came out in their households and were very, and there were some people that felt that they betrayed by Christ and his teachings based on what was happening. People that were having a moment of doubt. Okay. But this idea that the masses of the Jews wanted to kill Jesus was a very incorrect perspective. A good number of the Jews had changed to following Christ and truly believed he was the Savior, especially the masses among the poor and the lower classes. And they did huddle around and watch him crucified. And there was a lot of compassion and love being sent to him as he was nailed to the cross. Understanding that he was not the first that was nailed to the cross, nor would he be the last. Christ could see not just that he would be crucified, but that hundreds and literally thousands of Christians would be crucified because of him over the next several hundred years. The Romans crucified Christians en masse. And they didn't just crucify you. They crucified you, your family, your neighbors, and anyone you may have been talking to. The vendor on the corner that you bought something from. They did go after Christians very hard for several hundred years, the Romans did. And hundreds, thousands of Christians were crucified after Christ. And one of the biggest things that the Roman Emperor Constantine I, that organized Christianity and got baptized and stuff, one of the things he did that made him so heralded among the Christians was that he got rid of crucifying Christians. And, you know, they proclaimed him holy just because he said, you know, if we kill him, we can't tax him. So let's organize them instead. We'll stop crucifying them and we'll organize their religion. We can't seem to get rid of them, so we'll just do it a different way. We'll just take over their organization and change it from the inside. Because that's essentially what he did. He took over and then he started changing their truths and their churches and their beliefs. Got rid of what he didn't like. So, as Christ walked to his death, and they got him to the cross and they nailed him to it, he was actually at that moment, in his mind and in his heart, he was relieved. He was so thankful once he was hanging there. Because to him, it was basically over at that point. All the hard parts were done. He just had to hang there and look like he was dying, in which his physical avatar was having trouble breathing. It's not that he wasn't having some trouble breathing, but he would never have died because of crucifying him. He had to release his avatar or have it forcibly ejected, like if he'd been beheaded or, something that fully and completely shut down his avatar and forced the energy light being out of it, would have killed him. But just hanging on a cross wasn't going to shut down his avatar. He could regenerate and heal himself if he had so chosen. He had the knowledge and the power. But he understood, he knew they had to die. And they had to die in the way that he was being killed, murdered. Because he was doing God's work. It wasn't just that he had to be killed and that he had to die, but that he had to die in service to God for doing no wrong. Being a perfect lamb, having not one ill thought, creating no negative karmic cycles of any kind with any being, not even within his mind with any thought. And he hung on the cross, watching his wife and his mother and his brothers and sisters and his disciples and his father, his eternal, immortal Father, and the Father that protected him and raised him, Joseph. And when Christ became more tired, and he knew that he'd been hanging there long enough. One of the guys had already died. The other guy's hanging there. And he very reverently with very, very beautiful thoughts to God and all the gods in heaven that were all watching to see the laws fulfilled. Christ looked up to his Father and asked for forgiveness for those that were doing what they were doing, and asked for the suffering to be over, not for him, but for his mother, his father, his wife, his brothers and sisters, his disciple, and all of his followers, that the suffering could be over for them, and they not have to stand there any longer crying on his behalf. That the trial could be over, so that all that were suffering could be complete. It was kind of like, am I done now? Am I done now? Have I been hanging there long enough? Am I done now? You know, like, I didn't want to bug you, but am I done now? He wasn't saying that directly to the gods, but there was that vibration and that feeling and that intensity within him of am I done? I am here at your will until your will is completed, but am I done? Is it done? And all the Olympic judges in heaven gave him 15s. And all his teachers and his mentors and his guides gave him 10 gold stars. And his Father in heaven gave him a good thumbs up. I'm good. How's everybody else? What do you guys think? Because it wasn't just one God that had to make that decision. Okay? There were multiple gods that were rating and judging Jesus and making sure that all the laws were fulfilled and that he did everything perfectly. It wasn't just his God that created him, that was watching and judging him. And every thought and vibration of his being. And he stayed true to the law of love. And he fulfilled all the requirements. And his heart was love and joy that he could complete this task. And that his wife and his mother, which hung the heaviest on his heart, would no longer have to suffer watching him suffer. I want to eradicate any idea that there is truth in the scriptures that say he cried out and said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That was not a thought, a vibration, or any part truth in any time that I've watched his death. He was very much in a subjugative energy. He was very much in a state of humility and compassion for everyone that was involved in the situation. He had joy at the opportunity to be terribly crucified, to finish the job, to go the last mile. He always knew what the last mile was. And he had walked bravely towards his death every day. May we all walk as bravely toward us as he did. And so he got the signal from the gods that his time was done and he could get down. I mean, that was essentially the way it was understood in his mind. You're done. You can get down. You've completed the task. You may release yourself. And so as he was in his heart and mind saying goodbye to his mother and his wife, he did not verbally speak those things. He was very, very, very physically exhausted, and he was having a hard time breathing. But he looked down upon his wife with such love and his mother, and he said prayers and blessings. And he was releasing his avatar, looking around at all and saying blessings to all of his disciples, all of the people there. Christ blessed in his last moments on the cross. And that his deeds be done and his truth be spoken, and his church spread on the planet, his truth spread on the planet. And that all that he did was not in vain. And that the world be blessed by his suffering and sacrifice. It was beautiful. His last prayers on the cross were just so beautiful. As he sent blessings and love and intention to this world with his passing, with his last moments of the avatar. And as he was ready to get down, he kind of looked over and he's like, oh, that dude's going to hang there a minute. It's going to make me look bad if this dude over here hangs here for 4 more hours. Like, it's going to make people think I'm not very divine if I died after only 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. I get that he was only there about 6, maybe not even 8 hours. Okay, alive on the cross. And that guy was going to hang there a minute. And it was going to create doubt in the minds of others that he died so quickly and this other person lasted several hours longer, 2 to 3 hours longer than he was dying. And he didn't want the other guy to make him look bad. And cause more doubt than was needed. And to prove his divinity, and because he could, and because it was beautiful in the sight of God for him to take compassion on his brother and take his brother down with him out of the body, out of suffering, and into paradise. He turned to his brother. He's like, hey, yo, dude, you want to kick this joint? Are you done hanging there? I mean, we all know how this story's going to end. You really want to hang there for a couple more hours suffering? You're ready to get on with things. He extended his hand out energetically to the soul on the cross next to him and invited him to leave his body and come with him now into the light, into the next realm, and to cross over with him. And it was beautiful. And the man was afraid, even though at that point, essentially, I don't know who wrote those scriptures. Okay, I'm still asking God, who wrote this? because none of that was visible to the human eyes that were watching. Christ did not, in his physical avatar, extend his hand and tell his brother he was taking him with him, or invite his brother to come with him. Those were not words that were spoken out of Jesus' mouth, his physical 3D avatar. That happened energetically in the spirit realm. I think the only thing that the other humans would have seen was the guy look over at the avatar that was Jesus, and acknowledge him with his eyes, because I see that. The man lifted his head and looked at Jesus and was like, sure. He didn't know how that worked. He didn't know how to get out of his body. He was not even a true believer of Jesus. Okay. And he was not a believer in afterlife and stuff. He had great fear in his heart when Jesus asked him that. And yet, then he could see that Jesus was not really in his physical body and was inviting him to join him outside the physical body. And he lifted his eyes and basically kind of nodded, or, he didn't physically say, yeah, let's go. It was energetic. And Christ took his brother by his hand and led him on. And there was a beautiful light that shone down on his cross in the last half an hour of his life. And as he crossed and passed over, I don't know if this was all physical or energetic, but he crossed. He left his body, and he sent the other soul on. And the skies got dark, and there was almost a rending of the ground, like the ground rent. Okay, now there's no earthquakes per se that were noted, and one or more of the Bible descriptions may have discussed the ground shaking. But it was done at that. He fulfilled a promise. He fulfilled the laws, the agreements that his creator, his God creator, had agreed to. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful to him. It was beautiful to God. It was beautiful to all the gods in heaven. The laws were fulfilled. He was perfect. He was crucified. And then, if you understand that everything is science and math and vibration and spiritual to God, everything's energy to God, you'll understand that God was so pleased with his son. To God, we're all precious children. There is no one that he loves more or less. But if you understand the pride that you have in your college graduate, that you've spent so many years teaching and training, so many lives that you've worked with this being through, so many struggles and challenges through the elementary years, through the secondary and junior high, and then you get through high school, and then college, and then doctorate level college, master's, and then doctorate. Okay, the pride and joy in God's heart, the Heavenly Father that created the Christ life. It's unexplainable. It's so overwhelming. Bursting, exploding. I mean, his heart was just bursting open. There was just so much joy and so much love and so much pride. In his child, that he spent so many lives, so many years, so many struggles. Christ's life was a life of thousands and thousands of lives to get to that point of perfection and knowing all the laws of God, to live the law of love perfectly the way he did. And it was thousands of years of God's work and effort into one child. And we're just all as loved and beloved as Christ was. We all have the chance and opportunity to become perfect as our brother was, and to all return to heaven as full-fledged gods. When you understand the universe, you know that we all return to heaven. Everything returns from which it came. But what do you go back to heaven as? Do you go back to heaven as a kindergartner that still has to be supervised constantly? Or do you go back as a full-fledged God, a grown-up adult God like Jesus Christ, who knows all the laws and science and understandings of God, and lives the law of love, and is perfect, just like God is perfect, just like everyone in heaven is perfect. And when you're a child in heaven, you're perfect because your parents, it's required. It's just the way it works. I love you. I love you. I love you, my brothers and sisters. I'm so very grateful to have been able to share this story and this chat and this vision that God shared with me of Christ's last days, his last moments, his last thoughts and feelings and dreams, and his physical avatar. I hope that you have a beautiful day dancing on this magical planet. Go hug 10 trees. Go hug 10 people. Go tell someone you love them and you're grateful for them. Just know that you are loved, and I am grateful for you on this planet, sharing this journey with me, learning to shine your light and be love, and what the law of love is and how we can create heaven on earth together. I love you, I love you, I love you, my brothers and sisters. Quantum hugs and kisses from heaven. Have a beautiful day dancing on this magical